Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys, brought to you by the Hockey Podcast Network. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a sports betting perspective. With pro handicappers Alex B. Smith and veteran sports writer Jimmy Murphy. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by the Hockey Podcast Network. Sunday, October 31st, and a happy Halloween, I guess, to everybody out there on this Halloween Sunday edition of the Ice Guys. Great to be with you as always. Andrew McInnis will be along momentarily, and we will look toward the 5-game NHL card for this Sunday. Before we do that, though, as we always like to do when it's a busy card on the day before, and a lighter card the current day, we look back at the previous day and look back at some of the games that took place. Really the headline stories across the NHL. The number one, I guess, headline result last night was the Florida Panthers undefeated no more, as they go down to defeat for the first time this year, losing to the Boston Bruins by a score of 3-2. And for the first time this year, an L shows up beside the name of the Florida Panthers. Give the Bruins credit, played a pretty good game. It was a pretty even game, back and forth. The Bruins certainly played a lot better against the Panthers than they did in Florida, although it didn't take much for them to be better against Florida than they were the other night down in Sunrise. And they were. Linus Ullmark had a very strong game in net for the Bruins. He had 33 saves on 35 shots, and it was a very good win for the Bruins, considering they were trailing 2-1 in the third period. Boston gets the game-tying goal courtesy of Charlie McAvoy, who, of course, Jimmy Murphy saying has to have a very good year on the Bruins blue line if the Bruins are going to be the team that has the season they hope to have. So I would concur with that. He got the tying goal, forcing OT, and then in the shootout, Charlie Coyle, the only shootout goal, and Boston wins 3-2. Panthers losing for the first time. However, Panthers still have at least picked up a point in every game. So even though the win streak to begin the year is over for Florida, the consecutive game point streak rolls on for them with at least getting a point last night in that shootout loss to Boston. No Sidney Crosby's return spoiled by the New Jersey Devils last night. A 4-2 win for New Jersey. They got awarded a penalty shot in a 2-2 tie late in the third period. Jesper Bratt finishes it off, and they get the 3-2 lead, and then they add an empty netter. So give the Devils credit, and they outshot Pittsburgh 40-35. And that's sometimes what you get from certain teams when they get two of their key players back. It's not always a given that they're going to step onto the ice, play their absolute best, and win the game. It's just not always going to work out that way. A lot of times you get those key players back, and you know what happens? Everybody else decides, you know what? We're going to relax now. We're going to take it easy tonight. Sidney Crosby's back. Jeff Carter's back. We got our big guns back. We don't have to do as much. We may not have to work as hard. And next thing you know, there's New Jersey kind of outworking you at times last night and end up getting the victory 4-2. So that's the way it works. It's just, subconsciously, you look at it and you say, we got Sidney Crosby back. We've got Jeff Carter back. We're just going to step on the ice and roll to a great performance. And it's not always that way. And New Jersey proved it last night, 4-2 win over the Pittsburgh Penguins. Chicago loses another. They actually had a solid effort. Marc-Andre Fleury was spectacular in the game. It was by far his best game in a Blackhawks uniform. Not enough, though, as they lose 1-0. Couldn't find the back of the net. And really for the Blackhawks, from one game to the next, there's one game they don't score any goals. Then the next game, their defense collapses. It's just they have not had that complete team game at any point this year, which explains why they're winless. And Edmonton wins against Vancouver 2-1. Colorado beats Minnesota 4-1. San Jose over Winnipeg 2-1 in overtime. And it was learned right about an hour before the game that San Jose was without 5 regulars due to COVID-19 protocol, including head coach Bob Bugner. And again, sometimes you just assume a slam dunk for Winnipeg there. Doesn't work that way sometimes. San Jose, a very gutsy effort, shorthanded, a lot of AHL players littered throughout that lineup last night when that game started because of the COVID issues that happened with the Sharks. and they still get the victory over Winnipeg 2-1 in overtime. James Reimer had a really solid night in net for the Sharks, and a big win for San Jose because they had lost 3 in a row, kind of struggling again to beat Winnipeg like that with a shorthanded team last night. Very, very solid, gritty effort from the San Jose Sharks to win 2-1. And how about the Calgary Flames? One of the more surprising results, just not that they won, but they won convincingly. They dominated the Flyers. They almost doubled them in shots. They controlled the play most of the way. Full marks to Calgary for that 4-0 win in a usually what is a brutal spot for most teams. You return home off a very long, successful road trip, especially one where the majority of your games were in the Eastern time zone for a team that's playing out west like Calgary. For them to park that aside, still go out there and play pretty much a dominant game for 60 minutes against the Philadelphia Flyers. I can't say enough how impressed I was by that game from the Calgary Flames last night. And that's one of those results where, yeah, Calgary had the great road trip, but I'm like, I still need to see more, in terms of being convinced that this team is really, really good. And believe it or not, I'm still not totally convinced, but that performance last night against the Philadelphia Flyers, that went a long way. That's like, wow, this team's really showing you something right here. That they kept it going back home after that road trip and still managed to put in a terrific performance, back end out. Markstrom was amazing again in net. And now that's he's on a very, very big and lengthy scoreless streak against him. He's been put a brick wall in net for the Flames. The blue line's been very good. They're getting Monahan now starting to step up and score for them a little bit. Gaudreau had a goal last night. So guys that we've ridiculed in the past on this show for not stepping up, not bringing that offensive production on a consistent basis, they both ended up hitting the score sheet last night. So I was very impressed by that win for Calgary. 4-0 in a very tough spot historically when a team's coming off a long road trip like that, and they shut out and dominate, not just shut out Philly 4-0, not just win the game. They dominated. I mean, Philly at one point had 4 shots on goal late in the second period. That's it. So Calgary was in complete control of that game. Extremely impressive victory by the Calgary Flames last night against Philly. All right, let's turn the page now to Sunday's action. We'll get going with Arizona and Carolina down in Kakalaki. This is a 1 o'clock Eastern puck drop down in Carolina. Carolina minus 330 to minus 350. Home favorites, 5.5 the total. Some 6s showing up as well. So make sure you shop around for the best number possible. When you look at this game here between Arizona and Carolina, obviously Arizona's just been in rough shape all year. It's a Coyotes team that's still searching for their first win. Are they making strides of improvement in their performance despite the losses? I guess you could say that against Washington. I mean, they only lost 2-0. They at least kept the Capitals down to 2 goals in that game, and one of them was an empty netter. So, I guess you could say maybe defensively they're making a little bit of progress, but, you're still seeing this team get outplayed, and that's an effort issue. When you're seeing now the last 3 games, Arizona, they've been outshot 40-21, 28-25, and 31-16. You wonder if the toll and the psyche for this team, you're just losing one game after another, after another, after another. That eats away at you the longer it continues. And I think we're definitely seeing that with Arizona at this point in time. A confidence-less team, and the losses can, just when they think, hey, we played a little bit better defensive game, we still get shut out and we lose 2-0 to Washington the other night. Worth noting for Arizona that except for a 2-1 shootout loss to the Buffalo Sabres, except for that one game, the other 7 of their 8 losses have been by 2-goal margins or more, which tells you that you just cannot be scared to lay puck lines with it against Arizona right now. Carolina, and then there was one as an undefeated team in the NHL, and the Carolina Hurricanes are that lone remaining undefeated team now, 7-0. Just a very, very strong showing Friday night against Chicago, although the Blackhawks, as we know, are a bit of a mess right now. But 7 straight wins to begin the year. And you look at Carolina, we talked about how Arizona, most of their losses have been by margin, other than a 3-2 Carolina win against the Nashville Predators. Every other Carolina win has been by margin this year, at least a 2-goal margin of victory. So, it's the pieces fit for Carolina -1.5, -140 in this game. It sure feels that way. It sure looks that way. Vejmelka will be in net for Arizona, and I'll give Vejmelka credit. He played pretty well. I think it was his best game of the season against Washington, but it still wasn't enough for the Coyotes in that game. And it's going to be Freddie Anderson, the Red Rocket, here for the Carolina Hurricanes, who has been absolutely terrific since joining this team. Of course, you got a Jacob Slavin, by the way. I've meant for days now to talk about him a little bit, single him out for Carolina. What a rock and what a pillar of strength, man, on that blue line for the Carolina Hurricanes. This guy's just terrific. Skates the puck well, moves the puck well. His defensive positioning, the active stick in the defensive zone. Good luck getting a good prime scoring chance against this guy. He's just all over the ice. He's one of the defensemen that nobody talks about because of the market he plays in, but he's a legit number one defenseman for any NHL team. Thumbs up to Jacob Slavin. This guy just keeps playing terrific hockey, anchoring that blue line for the Carolina Hurricanes. So for me, it's Carolina -1.5, -140. You could lean to the team total. That's basically wash, rinse, repeat for me with every game for a team facing Arizona that I've leaned to the team total over, that I've leaned to the puck line. But I think the puck line might be the stronger bet here because I could see 3-1, 4-1 here for Carolina today, or 3-0. I don't know if Arizona is going to score, to be honest, because they got shut out by Washington. Freddie Anderson's on top of his game. So I think the Canes on the puck line is the best way to go here, for me at least, in this game. We got Andrew McInnis now with us. Andrew, what do you think here with Arizona, Carolina?
I just hope we get a bounce back day. And I'll be honest, wasn't a great day yesterday. I don't know about you.
Montreal, LA over was my only win, and other than that, no, not a good day. And no. Winnipeg was very, very frustrating because you think you got a layup there with the COVID issues with San Jose, and I already liked them without the COVID issues with San Jose. And look, I got worried the more that game went 0-0. I'm like, San Jose's going to rope-a-dope this thing. And that's exactly what they did. They just hung on and hung on and hung on, and Winnipeg tied it. And Winnipeg takes a stupid bad penalty in overtime. And it's, when you're shorthanded and you're 4-on-3 in overtime, that's trouble. And I don't care how shorthanded you are. Mm-hmm. A team can strike on the power play in overtime, and that's exactly what San Jose did. So tough one there.
Yeah. And I think it's that much funnier. I shouldn't even say funny, but the fact that it ends up going to overtime just to tease us. And then they end up dropping the game, But, the funny thing is I've been talking about teams that have had such crazy, schedule nightmares, right? And I spoke earlier last week to you about Arizona and how they didn't really make it too easy on them. It's not like they were mixing in any easy wins for them by any means. I mean, let's be honest here. St. Louis, Edmonton, New York Islanders, Florida Panthers, Tampa Bay Lightning, and Washington Capitals. Seriously, what the hell did they do to piss off the schedule makers, Ian? Because that's just ridiculous.
Not just a lot of road games, but tough teams, some of the best teams. And here's another one.
So, I mean, looking down at their schedule, it just doesn't really seem like this is a good spot for them. I mean, then also we got an Arizona team, early start here in Carolina. My lean here is on the under 6. That's kind of where I'm looking towards. I feel like eventually it gets to a point. I mean, let's even take a look and let's try in some way, shape, or form, Ian, to give some respect to this Arizona team. I'm trying real hard here. They only gave up 2 goals to Washington. And for a large part of that game, if you were a puck line bettor, you were sweating that out. And I'll be honest, I had the first period puck line in that one. And it was strictly a price thing. That's what it was for me. It was a price bet. Because I was getting plus 105 versus a minus number on the puck line. And, they just barely got that done. So as much as we've been on, and I use we because I think you and I have both been making some money, at least on these Carolina overs, I think Arizona gives up a decent fight defensively here today. And Carolina is the kind of team that I think that they kind of play to their competition, not skill-wise, but pace-wise. And Arizona, look at their expected goals. Look at their shot percentage. It's horrible. It's embarrassing. So I really look at this game, and I think the under 6 might be a lean here. Also, for as long as I've been betting hockey, Ian, I can't tell you what the track record is, but afternoon games on a Sunday, I like betting unders. I don't like betting overs on those games.
Yeah, I like the overs on when they had them on Sunday afternoons, the NBC games, like the national TV games. I
Mm,
find those ones actually are higher scoring, but the ones that aren't, yes, I find they sometimes can be a little bit. And we're not going to have those anymore because NBC doesn't have the
mhm.
NHL rights anymore. It's gone to TNT and
Yeah.
ESPN now. So
That's a good
they're,
point, actually. Like
yeah,
a Pittsburgh versus Philadelphia
yeah,
Sunday afternoon. That was
oh
always a
yeah.
bloodbath. Yeah,
It was
good point.
always an over. Washington played it mostly overs when they played on Sunday afternoons on television. So those ones I felt were high scoring, but the ones that weren't televised nationally on NBC, but were on a Sunday, not so much. It was more of
Yeah.
a variance there
I was thinking
between
about this last night, Ian, and,
overs and
and
unders.
I, I say this is I say this with complete respect because I'm not having a good NHL season. But I always joke around with people that, and I use this reference when I started doing the Korean baseball. I made it completely apparent that I had never followed the league before.
Yeah.
We were locked down to our houses. I didn't have much of a social life. I was living with two roommates, but couldn't really do much. I was studying this league, right? The reason why I bring it up is because I had no bias. I had no biased opinions, right? And I think this season, if you don't have any biased opinions and you're new to hockey, you're probably doing better than people like you and I that have all these pre-made predictions because they're just auto betting the great teams and auto fading the bad team. I mean, imagine if you just started betting hockey this year.
Yep.
Imagine every game you've probably faded Arizona, and every game you've probably bet Florida and Carolina.
Carolina, yeah. Well,
Yeah,
exactly. You just pick up on who's good and who's bad, and
yeah,
you don't really look at the schedule nuances or matchups or
yeah.
spots, and
There was
it's
a
just
team Ian in the KBO where I think I faded like every game.
yeah.
Like I just went against them.
When we get into and maybe this is something to factor in next year, that when teams get off to a hot start, they can ride the hot start for a while. And then you're going to see even the better teams start to have more ups and downs in their results as the
Mm,
season and the grind of the season goes on. And you're going to start to see that now. You're going to start to see some teams have more ups and downs. Like Florida, for as much as I love them, they're going to lose some games.
yeah.
They are.
That was one bright
Everyone
spot of
will.
my day yesterday.
Yeah.
Hey, I called that one.
Yeah, you did. I mean, you did lean to the Boston side there to get the
And
or
Jimmy
hand,
called
I
the
should say,
shootout.
Florida. Yeah, and Jimmy Murphy he actually wrote an article on that game, and he said Boston 3-2 in a shootout, and that's exactly what ended up happening. So a good call by him. So Andrew kind of likes the under here. I kind of like Carolina puck line. By the way, the last two meetings in Carolina, and this is why I prefer the puck line here today with Carolina rather than going team total. 3-0 results both games for Carolina. I could see that today clearly. 3-0, 3-1, something
Can
like
we get an
that.
over 0.5 fights in this game, Ian? Can you give me some odds for that?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't see those props as often as I'd like to see them because I wish they were posted more than they are, and they're
They
very
used to be
sporadic,
out
if at
there.
all. Yeah. Unfortunately, I haven't seen them much at all. So, yeah, I mean, yesterday was a tough day. What can we say? I mean, Andrew said it. I said it. That's the way it's going to be when you're doing a sport like this, a long season, 82 games in the regular season every day. You're not going to win every day. And
Yeah,
that's the beauty of doing this show, too. It's like, you'll know when we win. You'll know when we lose. And look, we
yeah.
can't exactly fudge the results or anything. We're on
No, no,
video
no.
saying what we like. We can't exactly say, oh, I didn't
Yeah,
say that. Oh, I wasn't on that game. No,
yeah,
obviously
yeah,
not. So
definitely. But for the
definitely,
record, I mean, and I think that I can speak for you as well. Like we're literally talking about every single game every day,
yeah,
right? So we want to give content, we want to give thoughts and predictions, and whether or not I'm going to give a rant on a team or whatever. But there's not going to be one day this year where I have on a 10-game slate a pick on every game.
yeah,
There's just not going to be. I'm not personally putting money down on 10 games in one
right.
day. So
Yeah,
I just want to make that clear. Like I'm saying it wasn't a good day, but it's not because I played all 10 games from yesterday's Ice Guys show. It
yeah,
was
yeah.
just the ones that I handpicked and selected. And I'm sure I speak for you as well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there were multiple games I did not even get to in terms of a bet
Mhm.
yesterday on the NHL slate for Saturday. But yeah, that's the great. To put it this way, would you rather I just say for all the games that I've got very very lukewarm opinions on, would you rather I just say I got nothing here, pass? I got nothing
Mhm.
here, pass. Or would you at least like me to give you some info, some analysis, and at least a pick or a lean of some
Exactly.
kind? Well, of course, I know what our viewers and our listeners would prefer.
Yeah.
They want something on the game, some kind of lean opinion analysis. So that's what we do here. We
Yep.
analyze every single game. Doesn't mean we bet every single game, but we give you an analysis, we give a lean, we give an opinion, and if you want to bet it, you can. So that's the beauty of doing this show, and it makes it one of a kind.
I got to give a quick shout out, Ian, to Ed Drake tuning in the YouTube live. He knew exactly the team I was talking about in the KBO. So shout out to Ed there for that comment in the KBO Hanwha Eagles. And that was fun. That was a fun team to fade. But before we get going the next game, just to echo off what you were saying there, Ian, we do this show every day. I try not to miss. I think I've missed one show since I've been back with you guys. And, so it's one of those things where I'm going to be with you guys for all season. We're going to be chatting, catching up, having small talk, talking about these games. So I think that I always say to people, if I can come in here one day, smiling ear to ear and tell you guys like, man, it was a good night last night, then you have to be able to do the other side of it. You know what I mean? I always say to people that you can't only do one part. So if you watch a betting show and someone every day is acting like it was a winning day, then there's something kind of fishy there. So I'd rather come in here and just, hey, was it a great day? Let's get it going.
Of course. And like I said, even if we said, great winning day, another winning day, 8, and we come in here 10 or 15 winning days in a row on a show where our picks are documented in video form, people could go back and say, wait a minute, 15 winning days in a row, you sucked 6 days ago. What the fuck are you talking about? Obviously. So, we're transparent here. And that's another thing that's great about the Ice Guys. And it's like, and plus we kind of have to be. We're on video. I've said this a bunch already. It's like, we can't, because there was something a couple of years ago, or I think it was last season. It's like, you guys are fudging the records or something. How can we fudge anything? We're on the video talking about giving our picks. We can't exactly fabricate that now, can we? But it's just funny to hear some of the critics out there sometimes that pop out of the woodwork every now and then. All right, next up, we've got Buffalo and Los Angeles. Los Angeles minus 125, minus 130. Home favorites, 5.5 the total in this game. Sabres, wow, the run continues, 5-1-1. On the verge of a Jack Eichel trade from the sounds of things. All the NHL insiders seem to think something is very, very close, potentially imminent, between the Buffalo Sabres and Vegas Golden Knights in terms of a deal to send Jack Eichel to Sin City. So we will see how that transpires if that indeed comes to fruition. But on the ice, it's not affecting the Sabres. Back-to-back wins for them against Tampa Bay and Anaheim. They get their road trip started out right with a 4-3 win over this Anaheim team. Los Angeles snaps their 6-game skid, 5-2 victory over the Montreal Canadiens. One of the few things I got right yesterday in that game, and just a defensive crumbling, essentially, from the Montreal Canadiens in that game yesterday. I kind of lean Buffalo here. It's a small bet. I like the Sabres here at a little bit of a plus price. They've got the rest advantage. And by the way, there's no travel. Not only has Buffalo not played since Thursday when they played Anaheim, so 2 days off, but there's no travel. When you make that Anaheim-LA road swing and play the Ducks and the Kings on the road back-to-back, you stay in the same hotel. Mm-hmm. It's a bus ride down the highway, down the freeway there to go from Anaheim to LA. So this is not big. This is no travel for the Buffalo Sabres going from the Anaheim game to LA, and with 2 days off. And you've got the Kings on the second of back-to-back. Now, no travel for them, but they did play yesterday. They're 0-5 in their last 5 games on the second of a back-to-back. You look at the series history here, Sabres have done well against the Kings. 4 straight wins head-to-head against the Kings. This is just one of those situations where, when LA's, an underdog, I'm interested. When they're minus 120, minus 130 like this, not so much. And against a Buffalo team that, believe it or not, they've got most of their wins with Anderson. And that's shocking to me because I think Anderson, I thought he's on the downward slope of his career. Well, they're going to have Dustin Tokarski in net. And I'm higher on Dustin Tokarski than Craig Anderson. He played well for extended stretches last year for this Sabres team. He's going to be in net. It's going to be Jonathan Quick probably on the other side because of the fact Cal Peterson got the start yesterday. I mean, just the one win for Tokarski against New Jersey, but man, was he sharp. Or actually, it was a loss. They lost 2-1, but he was terrific. 37 saves on 39 shots in that game. He was very, very sharp in net for the Sabres that day. So I like Buffalo a little bit here at the plus price. Andrew, Sabres Kings.
Yeah, you can get Buffalo in regulation plus 180. And that's kind of what I've been doing here a little bit with these short dogs, just taking it that much farther, Ian, and taking them in regulation. I think long term, it's kind of like when you look at a short dog last year in the NFL, how many times they were just winning outright. That's kind of my methodology here with the regulation wager. I'll turn this plus 110 into a plus 180 for the Buffalo Sabres. Tokarski, well, I agree with what you just said, but at the end of the day, we also can't argue with the fact that Anderson has been playing well here, but it just goes to show that they actually do have a decent goalie tandem here. And I think Tokarski's come a long way. You look at what he did. He used to play for the Canadiens. He built his way through the farm system. And now you find yourself on a Buffalo Sabres team. And honestly, what better of a team to kind of build your reputation with than a bad team? Well, don't tell them they're a bad team, but you can kind of develop a lot better. You can look at the shots against, you can look at all these stats and the expected goals against, and you can look at it and say that, you know what, he's actually playing some pretty quality hockey dating back to even later to last year as well. And also, I don't even think Buffalo's been playing that poor defensively. I really don't. I mean, it's time to put some respect on them. And when they played just a few short days ago, I really thought that game was done, and I think the Buffalo did too. So sometimes I look at a team like that and an example like that, and I kind of look to fade the team the next time around because they let Anaheim crawl back into the game, Ian. But I simply think the Buffalo thought the game was over, and they took their foot off the gas pedal. And in this instance, that's okay with me because if they wouldn't have done that, they would have dominated that game. And let's not forget, like you said, it was a really good point you made there. Against teams that aren't, top tier teams, even like they beat Tampa Bay, scored 5 goals on them, but Boston and stuff like that, they're putting up numbers. And then in games where they're not putting up numbers, they're not allowing much either. Like that game they played against Arizona, they only beat them 2-1, but they only allowed 1 goal. So in games where they're not getting the pucks, the goal support, they're also just playing really well defensively here. So I think it's a good spot here. I think we're probably going to get Jonathan Quick between the pipes. And let's be honest, I'll rip on my own team for a second here, Ian. A lot of those goals, I'm not saying they weren't nice. There were a couple set-up goals last night, but it was a defensive disaster last night for the Montreal Canadiens.
Oh, they were hideous. They were absolutely brutal.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was out. I'm happy I was out running errands. It was funny. I was trying to plan it so I can get home on time, right? And then the second I saw that game start to slip in the second period and the third period, I was like, I'm in no hurry to get home.
I'll just stick around here. I don't need to watch this monstrosity taking place there in La La Land. So, I mean, it was a bad game for Montreal. Now, the flip side is LA snapped a losing streak. It gives them a little momentum, propels them into this game today, and they carry it over. I don't know. They might, but it's just a price bet that for me at Buffalo, plus 150.
That's pretty crazy, though, eh, Ian? You can turn that plus 110 into a plus 180.
Yeah,
I think it's one thing I've been trying to do a lot lately. I think a lot of people only use the regulation 3-way. Actually, I did a podcast with somebody a couple days ago on Friday, and they were saying they do that as well. They're saying that people only use regulation 3-way lines when they're betting a team that's originally like minus 200.
Yeah,
but it's always there. It's not like it's not available.
Yeah. No, you can do it. You can just make a dog a bigger dog in this situation with the Sabres. So we'll see how they fare in LA. Speaking of Montreal, they're next up. We get to talk about them again. Montreal and Anaheim. This is what Buffalo's doing. LA to Anaheim to LA, and Montreal's doing it vice versa. LA to Anaheim. LA yesterday, Anaheim today, back to back. Even money both sides. 5.5 the total here in this game. At this point in time, I've been waiting for Anaheim to shore up things defensively. They're not doing it. I mean, that's 6 straight overs now for the Anaheim Ducks. They've given up 6 to Edmonton, 5 to Winnipeg, 4 to Minnesota, 4 to Winnipeg, 4 to Buffalo, 5 to Vegas. I mean, they've given up 4 goals in every game during that stretch. And, this team's defense has come unglued and chickens have come home to roost. There was a few games early in the year. The high-quality chances were being surrendered. The shots were a high number, were being surrendered, and the pucks just weren't going in for the opponent against this Anaheim team. Well, now they are, and I'm just going to ride it at this point. I'm on over 5.5 here with the Canadiens and the Ducks. Anaheim's offense has been good. I like what I'm seeing. Troy Terry stepped up. Trevor Zegras in his first full year in the NHL is making an impact. So they found their way to score goals. 3+ plus goals now in 4 straight games for the Ducks. So their offense is starting to come together a little bit for them here. And they're taking on a Montreal team on the second of back-to-back games. So you worry about, fatigue, and fatigue usually means defensive mistakes at times. You could see, and boy, did we see defensive mistakes yesterday from the Montreal Canadiens in that 5-2 loss. We'll see how they fare here. They've had no success in Anaheim. They've lost 5 straight here to the Ducks in Anaheim. I'm not going to take Anaheim either, but I understand why the money's come in on Anaheim. Anaheim's, dominated Montreal here in this building, and it is back-to-back games here for the Canadiens. But I like the over more. And Montembeault, by the way, Sam Montembeault is going to be in net today. Talked about the hesitancy a few days ago on the show of Dominic Ducharme going with Montembeault, giving his struggles in preseason. Well, he figures it's time finally to give Jake Allen a rest. He needs it. And it'll be Samuel Montembeault in net. And look, it hasn't mattered whether it's Stolars or even John Gibson, who's given up goals lately for Anaheim.
Yeah.
So 5.5 for me over the total. When I see teams that are on these streaks to the over or the under for that matter, I just ride them once they get to the point where it's been 5-6 straight, like it's been for Anaheim. So for me, it's Habs Ducks over 5.5. Andrew, what do you like in this one?
Yeah, and it's hard to ignore that shot percentage. Something I've been talking about a lot on this show recently. It's actually quite impressive for the Anaheim Ducks right now. You take a look at it for them. They're top. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, they're 8th in the league in shooting percentage. It's unbelievable. I mean, what that pretty much means to people out there is, the shot. It doesn't matter how many shots you take. It's first of all the dangerous scoring opportunities, but also what percentage of your shots are going in. And, a lot of people love to complain about the fact that this team had 35 shots, but they didn't win the game. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter at all. I tuned in for a second, actually, Ian, last night. Cabby Richards, he was on as a guest spot with Steve Dangle on their Sportsnet Live. And Steve Dangle was ranting about the fact that the Maple Leafs, he says, I don't care about shot count anymore. I care about, shot percentage and goal expectancy. No. And that's, to be honest with you, exactly what we've seen from the Ducks. It doesn't matter. It's very similar to a soccer team that controls 30% of the possession. But when they counterattack, you better watch out. One important thing to mention here, I was looking at a lot of quotes and stuff, and it was hard to kind of read between the lines. The Canadiens did hold a players-only meeting yesterday in LA after their loss against the Kings in the evening. It seemed like it was really long. A lot of the beat writers I follow, they were kind of complaining a little bit that it took a while to get those players out of the locker room to answer questions and stuff like that. So, I think that players-only meetings often do spark the club, but it also kind of is a big message to the top guys, not the bottom guys. It's a message to the top guys to get going. Look, I have a long leash with a guy like Cole Caulfield, but for someone that played so well in the playoffs, he seems quite nervous out there.
Yeah.
And I was reading something where somebody was saying that they think it's because he was playing the same guys every night. So it's easy to know who's going to be marking you and who's out there. But I don't know. I don't really think that's much of an excuse. I just feel like the team's not playing well, so it's a lot of pressure on him. But
Toffoli's done nothing.
Yeah, Suzuki's a 200-foot guy.
5 assists, that's it. 5
yeah,
no goals.
We don't have him there to play
terrible.
Yeah, we don't have him there to play a Philip Deneau role. We want him to play like Bergeron, but Bergeron scores and still creates. And right now Suzuki's not really doing that too much. But look, call me crazy, Ian, but I'm looking at the over 2.5 team total here for the Montreal Canadiens. Off a loss, I get it. Off a pitiful performance, I understand. Anaheim Ducks, they have been scoring, but Montembeault, look, we all know what the story is with him. People don't trust him. Nobody trusts him, but I think this is a big spot for him to come in. And, I've been tweeting and ranting quite a bit about I think it's embarrassing, the Habs fan base right now, what they've been saying. After their team went to a Stanley Cup final, even though they have a piss poor record right now, they're acting like the sky is falling and the season just started. I'm not a fan of that. Give Montembeault
it's a rough
shot
start,
out there.
but it is October still. I mean,
exactly.
It's a long season ahead. Yeah.
Let the defense, do their thing and try and pot some goals here. Because the one thing I will say is that they didn't really give up. And people have been saying they have, and in some games they might have. Look at the game against the Kraken. I think they might have packed it in early. But in this instance alone, I don't think that I think they're going to give a full 60-minute effort, and they'll get me at least 3 goals here.
Yeah, the Montreal team total makes sense. I think I've looked to bet that earlier in the week. Actually, the Seattle game, I lost with it, and I took it in the San Jose game, and it won. So the team total, I should say, for Montreal. So feels like a spot where they should. Again, Anaheim's given up 4 goals in 6 straight games. So
Yeah.
this should be a spot where Montreal plausibly can get you 3 goals. Certainly should have the focus and the intensity to do so.
Early start as well,
yesterday's
too,
game.
Ian, for everybody out there.
Yeah, exactly. 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. So team total over 2.5 for Montreal for Andrew, and I like the full game over 5.5. Before we go to our last 2 games, a reminder, DraftKings Sportsbook is the official sports betting partner of the NFL and the NHL. They've got you covered. New customers, you can bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game today. We've got a huge NFL slate, and if they do, you win $200 in free bets. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. It's that simple. If DraftKings isn't available in your state, don't worry. They won't leave you empty-handed. You can still play for huge cash prizes all season long with DraftKings Daily Fantasy Sports Contest. DraftKings giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code THPN. Bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game, and you win $200 in free bets. If they win, you win with promo code THPN at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL and NHL. Must be 21 years of age or older. Must reside in a DraftKings Sportsbook state. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit and $1 wager required. 1 per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Sign up for an account. Use that promo code THPN. All right, we got 2 games left on this Sunday slate, Columbus and New Jersey. The Devils, -130, home favorites, 5.5 the total in this one. And as I mentioned in the Saturday recap portion of this show, sometimes it seems, hey, we got Sidney Crosby back. Life's good again. We're going to just step on the ice and win. It doesn't work that way. New Jersey was even, if not maybe slightly better than Pittsburgh last night. Shots, territorial play. The Devils played a very strong game. Lindy Ruff wasn't thrilled with their effort against Calgary a few nights ago, and the Devils certainly brought that last night, and they get a 4-2 win against Pittsburgh. However, this is not a Devils spot. You beat Pittsburgh, spoil Sidney Crosby's return, and now you're coming back home, and now you're playing the second of back-to-back games, and now it's Brad Larson coming into this game, kind of like Lindy Ruff going into the game yesterday. Brad Larson's turned to be a little bit upset and ticked with his team. He wasn't thrilled with the effort in their shutout loss to the Rangers on Friday night. I'd expect Columbus to bounce back, be better here. It's Korpisalo, by the way, in net. They're giving Merzlikins a rest. Don't know if I love that for Columbus, but he's still capable. He didn't have a good start his last time out, but Korpisalo is still a goalie that can go in there and play relatively well from time to time. Hopefully today is one of those days. For New Jersey, it's probably going to be Scott Wedgwood after Jonathan Bernier got the start last night against the Pittsburgh Penguins. I would think they'll go to Wedgwood, who's probably the weaker of the 2 options right now. They're still awaiting Mackenzie Blackwood's clearance to return to the team, which is imminent, but it's not going to happen right away. And you look at it from a matchup perspective here. This is the first time all year for New Jersey. They're playing the second night of back-to-back games. Columbus has owned this series 6-1. The last 7 trips to New Jersey here for Columbus against this Devils team, kind of like Buffalo. This is another short road underdog that I'm interested in here with Columbus at the plus price. Andrew, what do you think here, Jackets and Devils?
Yeah, I won't take up too much time. Right there with you. Obviously, I would like to have Elvis in the building. Well, I guess he'll be in the building. But
be in the building and be on the bench. Yeah. Yep.
I had to try and use it when I could.
Oh, yeah.
But no, I like Columbus. I think it's a good bounce back spot for them. And I'm always talking about certain teams that have that ability to throw in another goaltender, and I can trust them a little bit. And to be honest with you, that's why I'm going with Montreal's team total, just to go back to that game for a second and not them on the money line, because I don't really trust their goaltending. But in this game, I do trust Korpisalo to be out there. New Jersey, look, it was a good effort from them. And take this with a grain of salt, because I was on the Pittsburgh Penguins. But first of all, that should never have been a penalty shot. Like 99 times out of 100, that's not a penalty shot. What happened in that play? How many penalty shots do we even see a week, a month, a year in the NHL? And
Especially
that's
2-2 tie, 3-4
yeah,
minute left in the
it's
third period.
ridiculous.
It was
And
dubious.
usually it's stick work, right, that causes the penalty shots. That was a push. He pushed him. That's an interference. That's a rough. It's something like that, a tripping or cross checking penalty. Give them 2 minutes on the power play and see what they can do. But I got to give him credit, man. He goes down there after he's injured. I think it was Jesper Bratt.
Yep.
Goes down there and just slicks it through the 5-hole. I mean, great goal on him. But another goal, the Devils' head. I'm pretty sure it was a cross ice pass off the skate of a Pittsburgh defenseman in the goal past Jari. I mean, I think it was a great game, great battle for the Devils, but I think Columbus is much better than people are giving them credit for. And what I also love is they're off that loss. They're off that loss against the Rangers, what seems to be a little bit of rivalry with them. So they're getting the defense for the most part. They didn't get it in that last game against the Rangers. Now it's time for Korpisalo to kind of get out there, give them a good performance. And I feel like this team has the top 6 to be able to put some goals up against the Devils here on a back-to-back with a Devils team that I think will be pretty satisfied. You see the way they celebrated that win last night? Like they just made the playoffs?
Oh, yeah. Well, that was a big win. I mean, Sidney Crosby's back. Pittsburgh's a lot more at full strength last night, and they knocked them off. So it was a very good win for New Jersey, but now they're back home. It's not exactly the best environment for home ice there in New Jersey for an afternoon game. And Columbus, yeah, I think Bjorkstrand's been very good this year, and even Laine, has had a little bit of a better maybe he's enjoying being coached by Larson instead of Tortorella. But nevertheless, Lione's at least been more noticeable so far to begin the year for Columbus than he was most of last year. So you factor that in. And, of course, Columbus, too. Columbus hasn't lost 2 in a row yet, too. You look at their previous losses, 4-1 to Detroit. Next game, they beat a very good Islander team. They lose 5-1 to Carolina, bounce back the next game, and beat Dallas 4-1. So this team's done a good job after a bad performance, rallying the troops and being better the next time out. So we'll see if that pattern continues here in this one. All right, the final game for this Sunday slate, New York Rangers, Seattle Kraken. The Rangers minus 115, road favorites, 5.5 the total in this game. It really should be a good hockey game. You got the Rangers starting a road trip, a Ranger team that's been great on the road this year, and that's not surprising. They were actually a pretty good team to back on the road last year as well, better than at Madison Square Garden, to be honest with you. They're 4-1 on the road this year, starting a road trip that's going to take them through Seattle and then Western Canada after that. So a lot of road games coming up here for the Rangers. They ended their homestand with a 4-0 shutout over Columbus. Seattle, 2-1 so far on their first ever homestand at Climate Pledge Arena in Seattle. They really could be, and I think should be, 3-0. I've said it a bunch that they probably should have won the Vancouver game as well. They outplayed the Canucks that night, but definitely outplayed Montreal and definitely outplayed Minnesota. They carried the game to the Wild in that 4-1 win, and this is their final game of this homestand before they hit the road for a couple of games. It looks like on the road after this for Seattle. Yeah, they're in Edmonton. It looks like after this on Tuesday night. So this is the end of the homestand. I expect Seattle doesn't want to end the homestand 2-2. There's a big difference between 2-2 and 3-1 on this 4-game homestand. So I expect great effort from Seattle, but it's also for the Rangers, first game on a road trip. And on the road, the Rangers have played very well this year. So I expect a good effort from them. So this is two sides I don't want to go against here in this spot. So it's a pass for me in this game, but it's probably the game I'm most excited to watch tonight. And it's the only game really tonight because it's a 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific puck drop in Seattle. But fascinated to see how this one plays out. I'm really liking the fact that Seattle's getting offensive contributions from really a bunch of different sources. That's a good sign for a team that, coming into the year, we were worried about that forward depth. Yeah, and you look at their offense lately, there's just a bunch of different guys contributing for the Seattle Kraken on a nightly basis. You look at the last game, you got Hayden Fleury from the blue line chipping in. You got the Giordano chipping in. You've seen, obviously, Brandon Tanev run amok the last few games from an offensive standpoint. Wenberg's been good. Gord's had some offense for you. They've really, really had a little bit of offense from a variety of sources, and that's nothing but positive for this Seattle team. So this is the one game today that I can pretty much confirmed I'm probably not going to be involved in it from a betting standpoint, at least before puck drop. Andrew, your thoughts here, Rangers and the Kraken?
I'm passing this game as well, Ian. There's some different angles I wanted to look at in this game. I have a partial lean towards the under. I still believe in my heart that I think this Seattle team is going to be an under team on the season. But I don't know, man. Some of the goals they're scoring, it's kind of making me scratch my head. And they're playing at home. Let me wait till they get on the road. I'll start taking some unders with them. Look for some of this stuff to slow down here with them because
they're pushing the pace at home
right now.
They're pushing the pace at home. They're feeding off the energy of that crowd, and it's leading to the goals coming in. And I think the pace being higher and the games going over the total. And they've had 2 games that have gone over the Seattle-Vancouver was a push. It landed on 6. And then the Seattle-Montreal game went over the total. And Seattle-Minnesota just barely stayed under, but barely in 4-1. Seattle scored 4 goals. And with this total being 5.5, if I were to lean under, I would have preferred 6 in this game than the 5.5. So that's tricky from a total standpoint. I'll say this about the Rangers. When they go on the road, I think they try to play defensive-minded, tighter checking. We've seen evidence of that. The Nashville game on the road, the Ottawa game on the road, the Toronto game on the road, the Montreal game on the road. All but one Ranger road game so far has gone over the total. All but one Ranger road game has gone under the total, I should say. So they've played a lot of unders on the road. You could see that continue here. But, just a really fascinating game to watch, though, because Rangers playing good hockey, especially on the road, and Seattle's had a nice 3-game stretch here at home. So 2 teams that are coming into this game in good form. We'll see if that continues here. All right, great stuff with Andrew McInnis. That's the Sunday card. Of course, we'll be back tomorrow on Monday, brand new week, 2 p.m. Eastern. For the Monday edition of the show, it'll be me, it'll be Andrew, and it'll be Jimmy Murphy on the show tomorrow. Alex is taking a couple days off, clear some things up, but he'll be back Tuesday. Tomorrow's a very short slate, 3 games tomorrow, so it'll be a very short card, very short show tomorrow with just 3 games, and then we'll have the whole crew back on the show on Tuesday for a very big Tuesday NHL slate. So make sure you join us for that. Andrew, we'll wrap it up with best bets for the Sunday card. What do you like for best bet?
What will I select for the best bet for today? You know what? Give me the Blue Jackets on the money line here. Short dog. I'm riding with them. I think they bounce back. I think they get it going here. I think the Devils are feeling good about that performance last night. I feel like it's a great spot for them and a great price.
All right, Columbus plus 120. Best bet for Andrew McInnis. Mine's going to be Montreal, Anaheim over 5.5, minus 110. I think Montreal will score, and I think there's going to be some urgency, which means they're going to be throwing pucks toward the Anaheim net, an Anaheim team that's given up 4 goals in 6 straight games at least. And on the flip side, Montembeault, 1 start this year. Well, first of all, he struggled in the preseason. 1 start in the regular season. That came against the Buffalo Sabres. He only gave up 5 goals. No big deal. So definitely I don't trust him in between the pipes. And Anaheim has scored 3+ goals in their last few games. So 5.5, I think we get over that. So Montreal, Anaheim over 5.5 for my best bet on this Sunday card. And that'll wrap up this edition of the Ice Guys. Thanks to everyone for tuning in live. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live on YouTube 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern. Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio. Download the podcast. Make sure you do it. For Andrew McInnis, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Sunday. Enjoy the NFL. Enjoy the NHL. Have happy Halloween once again to those everyone out there. Enjoy the games and good luck, and we will talk to you again tomorrow on Monday for another edition of the Ice Guys presented by the Hockey Podcast Network.